Two little girls. A locked shed. A dog barking like something was dying inside. When Officer Daniels kicked open that door, he had no idea what he'd find. What came next didn't just shake his soul. It exposed a nightmare the whole town had missed. And it all started with one word: help. When Officer Jake Daniels steered his patrol car down the dusty service road skirting the edge of town. Most officers hated patrolling this area. It was quiet, eerie, and forgotten. But Daniels didn't mind. He wasn't alone in the passenger seat. Titan, his loyal German Shepherd K9 partner, sat upright, his sharp eyes scanning the surroundings. Titan was more than just a working dog. He was Daniels' partner, his backup, and his best friend. Together, they'd handled everything from drug busts to missing persons. But today felt different. Titan had been tense since they entered this part of town. They passed an old, boarded-up warehouse. Titan suddenly perked up, his ears standing at full attention. Before Daniels could even say a word, Titan let out a low growl and leapt toward the door, pawing at it urgently. Daniels slammed the brakes and jumped out. But Titan was already running, darting into the overgrown brush toward a crumbling stone shed in the distance. Something had caught his nose, and it wasn't good. Officer Daniels sprinted after Titan. The stone shed in the distance looked abandoned. No windows, just a rusted metal door and weeds crawling up the walls. But Titan wasn't slowing down. He barked louder now, circling the structure, then stopping near a small, grated opening close to the ground, barely big enough to see through. Daniels crouched down, heart pounding. He turned on his flashlight and aimed it through the rusted bars. At first, he saw only darkness, then movement. His breath caught in his throat. Two little girls, filthy, bruised, their cheeks streaked with tears, huddled together inside a narrow, concrete space. One looked directly at him, her lips quivering. "Help us," she whispered, barely loud enough to hear. The other clung to her like a lifeline, eyes wide with silent terror. Daniels felt his stomach drop. They looked no older than 8. "It's okay. You're safe now," he said softly, though he wasn't sure how true that was. His hands trembled slightly as he reached for his radio. "Dispatch, I need backup and medical at my location, immediately. I've found 2 miners, alive, confined underground." Titan stayed at the barred opening, growling protectively at the structure as if something, or someone, was still nearby. The air felt heavier now, like the shed itself held a dark secret. Daniels glanced around the woods, suddenly aware that whoever did this might still be watching. The rescue had begun, but something told him it wasn't over yet. Officer Daniels stayed low beside the barred opening, speaking gently to the girls inside. "What are your names?" he asked softly. One of them hesitated, then whispered, "Lily, and that's my sister, Rose." Daniels nodded slowly, trying to mask the urgency in his voice. "You're going to be okay, Lily. I promise." Titan stood guard, his body tense, ears swiveling at every sound in the woods. He wasn't just watching, he was warning. Daniels could feel it. Whoever had done this might not be far. The hair on his neck stood up. Moments later, the sound of tires skidding on gravel brought relief. Backup had arrived. 2 more officers and an EMT team raced toward the shed. One officer worked on breaking open the rusted padlock, while the others kept their weapons drawn, scanning the tree line. It was quiet. Too quiet. The lock finally snapped and the door creaked open. The smell of mold, rust, and fear hit them like a wall. The girls flinched at the light, backing away instinctively. Daniel stepped inside carefully, reaching out a hand. "No one's going to hurt you now." But even as the girls were gently lifted out, one of them whispered through trembling lips, "Please, don't let him come back." As the girls were carried to the waiting ambulance, Officer Daniels stepped inside the shed with a flashlight, heart pounding. The space was barely larger than a walk-in closet, with cold concrete walls and a dirt floor. In one corner lay a torn blanket, a few half-eaten granola bars, and a plastic jug of stale water. The room felt more like a prison than a hiding place. One of the backup officers whistled low. "This wasn't just some abandoned building," he muttered. "Someone's been using this recently." Daniel scanned the interior carefully. In a hidden corner, partly covered by an old rug, he found something chilling: bolted chains, still attached to the wall. Above them, a rusted camera was mounted and aimed directly at the corner where the girls had been lying. It was dead now, but it had been recording. He felt sick. Then something caught his eye, a small notebook tucked behind a loose brick. He pulled it free and flipped through it. Page after page of disturbing notes, lists of names, dates, and cold, cryptic messages like, "No noise today. Good behavior. And the new twins are quieter." Daniels slammed the notebook shut, his jaw clenched. This wasn't random. Someone had built this place with intent. It was a cage designed to disappear. Outside, Titan barked sharply, pacing. Near the trees again. The dog hadn't relaxed since the moment they arrived. Daniels stepped outside, now certain of two things. This rescue was just the beginning, and the evil behind it hadn't gone far. Back at the station, the evidence from the shed was processed with urgency. The chains, the camera, the journal. Every item painted a terrifying picture. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment crime. It was methodical, planned. And worst of all, it wasn't the first time AS investigators interviewed the girls at the hospital. A chilling detail emerged. Lily recalled seeing other children's drawings carved into the concrete wall. Names, tallies, messages like, "Don't cry, it makes him angry." Daniels felt a chill run down his spine. This place had a history. A dark one. Forensics pulled a breakthrough. Hair and fingerprints collected from the hidden room matched someone already in the system, not for crimes, but for a government job application. It was a man named Carl Brenner, 46 years old, local, lived just 7 blocks from where the girls were taken. No criminal record, no known mental illness. The kind of neighbor who waved at everyone and was never suspected. Officers swarmed his residence, finding more damning evidence. Clothing matching what Lily described her. Kidnapper wore, surveillance photos, and a blueprint of the underground room. It became clear Carl had built the chamber himself, out of sight and out of mind. Neighbors were shocked. He was quiet, always kept to himself, one woman said. "We never imagined," but Officer Daniels wasn't surprised. He'd seen it too often. Evil doesn't always come with a warning. Sometimes, it hides behind friendly smiles and picket fences. And if it hadn't been for Titan, it might have stayed hidden forever. In the chaos of the investigation, one truth stood out crystal clear. None of it would have happened without Titan. The German Shepherd had sensed something that no officer, no technology, no surveillance could have. He'd smelled the fear, the desperation, the presence of life hidden behind concrete walls. And he hadn't stopped until someone listened. Titan stood proudly beside Officer Daniels as the police chief, pinned a special medal to the dog's harness. The crowd clapped, but the loudest applause came from 2 little girls, Lily and Rose, now clean, safe, and slowly healing. They ran forward without hesitation, wrapping their arms around Titan's neck. "You're our hero," Lily whispered. Daniels felt a lump rise in his throat. In that moment, it didn't matter how many arrests he'd made or cases he'd solved. This rescue, was the one he'd never forget. And Titan, he was the reason why. Weeks passed, but the memory of that day lingered like a shadow. Lily and Rose were now in therapy, slowly recovering in the arms of the family that had feared they'd never come home. Their parents never stopped thanking Officer Daniels and Titan. "You didn't just find them," their mother said through tears. "You gave them a second chance at life." Daniels visited the girls a few times after the rescue, always bringing Titan with him. The moment the girls saw the dog, they lit up, running, laughing, calling his name. It was the first time Daniels had seen them smile. One afternoon, Rose wrapped her arms around Titan and whispered, "I wasn't scared when I heard him. I knew someone good was coming." A candlelight vigil was held in the town square for missing children, and Titan was honored in front of hundreds. Parents hugged their kids a little tighter that night. Daniel stood off to the side, watching quietly, his hand resting on Titan's back. Evil had left its mark, but so had hope.